Hello everyone, I'm Isaac and welcome back to my channel. Today we are looking at a video from a Christian blogging couple, Paul and Morgan, entitled Christians on LGBTQ. Now this video has been responded to by a few other YouTubers, but I thought this video was worth responding to because I felt like I had a lot of thoughts in this video that have not been said. Now because of the length of this video, I will most likely have to separate it into multiple parts in order to respond to everything and not make this an hour long. So without further ado, let's dive in.
Alright. Morgan, say something.
Well, that's going to haunt my nightmares.
What's up, guys? How you doing? I'm Paul.
I'm Morgan.
And this is the Paul and Morgan Show. Today's video, we're talking about Christianity and LGBTQ. How should we respond? I mean, there's so many questions, on homosexuality. We're going to get to the biggest ones. Guys, real quick, if you're new here, we are making Christian advice videos on life, love, and dating to help you have hope.
And be free.
So subscribe.
Keep in mind that have hope and be free line as you watch this. It's going to be important later.
One of the most common things that we're expecting we're going to get is just people saying that we're being judgmental. The main thing we want to say starting this video is that we're not judging in a hateful, a hypocritical, or a harsh way.
Again, keep we're not judging in a hypocritical way in mind. Anyways, after this, they just kind of go into how Christians are allowed to judge. They do it righteously, so we're just going to skip over that.
Let's move forward. We asked for you all to send us in questions, and you guys sent in
a lot of good ones.
A lot of
very relevant ones.
So, question number one, here we go. Is being LGBTQ a sin / can they be Christians?
Well, according to many Christians, no, it's not a sin, and yes, you can be Christian. However, you two are going to disagree with that, aren't you?
I think a lot of people are asking themselves, can you be gay and a Christian? And we're wondering, could culture have it wrong? Could these churches that are now really embracing the homosexual community and saying, actually, guys, God does love you and he supports your lifestyle, could they be wrong?
It is not a lifestyle, it's a sexual orientation. And just so everyone knows, if you ever hear someone referring to someone's sexual orientation or gender identity as a lifestyle, that is a homophobic dog whistle. Don't trust those people.
To answer that question, the Bible makes it very clear, homosexuality, LGBTQ+, is a sin. If you want to do further research, these are the verses that we looked at: Genesis 19, Leviticus 18 and 20, Romans 1, 18 through 32, 1 Corinthians 6, 9 through 11, 1 Timothy 1, 8 through 10.
Every single one of those Bible passages you've just mentioned could be interpreted in a non-homophobic fashion. The first Bible passage Morgan references is Genesis 19, which is the story of Sodom and Gomorrah, where an angry mob tried to gang rape 2 angels. This has nothing to do with homosexuality, as the 2 angels were obviously not consenting. Furthermore, there's a similar story in Judges 19 in which an angry mob tries to gang rape a male visitor. However, the master of the house offered up his concubines up instead, and the mob raped them. This isn't in any way a story about a mob of lustful homosexuals. Rather, it is a story about an angry mob wanting to humiliate a stranger in their midst. I think Justin Lee said it best when he wrote, "Just imagine you were in a prison and a bunch of big burly men threatened to rape you. You wouldn't assume they were gay men hitting on you. Rather, you'd realize that they were threatening you with the worst punishment imaginable." As for Leviticus also prohibits trimming your beard and sideburns, eating shellfish and pork, that tattoo in Morgan's arm, wearing clothes of mixed fabric, and much more. Most of which, if not all, you have done or are currently doing. Remember that part she said about not to judge hypocritically? Now many Christians will try to rationalize this by saying that the other laws I mentioned previously were actual purity laws, and the verses on homosexuality is actually a moral law. However, this logic falls apart due to the fact that the Bible never makes any distinction between moral and purity laws. The only distinction between the laws that were made were the laws that were meant to be followed by priests during temple worship, and some were meant to be followed by the general population, and the ones I mentioned previously were the ones applied to the general population. As for the Romans passage, Paul was likely here referring to fertility cults of the time in which men and women would participate in orgies which were both heterosexual and homosexual in nature, in honor of pagan gods. The problem here is not the homosexuality in and of itself, but rather its context. And finally, as for 1 Timothy and 1 Corinthians, there are 2 words that were translated to mean homosexual, malkoi and arsenokoite. The first malkoi literally translates to soft ones, and actually means someone who is morally lax, not homosexual. Arsenokoites is a compound word that is made up of 2 Greek words, male and bed, and it is used so little in any Greek literature that scholars have a hard time properly translating the word. Some Bible scholars believe the word refers to pederasty, in which adult men would have sex with young boys. Now, when many Christians are confronted with all this, they will say, but the Bible has nothing positive to say about homosexuality. But the Bible has a lot of positive things to say about slavery. For example, Leviticus 25:44-46 says, "Your male and female slaves are to come from the nations around you. From them you may buy slaves. You may also buy some of the temporary residents living among you and members of their clans born in your country, and they will become your property. You can bequeath them to your children as inherited property and take them as slaves for life. But you must not rule over your fellow Israelites ruthlessly." But yet the Bible has nothing negative to say about the abolishment of slavery. So to that I say, when are you going to say that the abolishment of slavery was a mistake? If you want to read more about these biblical interpretations, I have included some resources in the description for you to check out. Anyways, after this, they just kind of go on a tangent about how some people judge Christians for putting more of an emphasis on homosexuality than other sins, and I don't really care to address that. However, it does segue nicely into the section that I do want to address.
And I think that the argument in this world nowadays is that it's not a sin, that being gay and love is love, like, it's not a sin. I can love whoever I want. And that's just not the case. And so,
if you're looking at it from a biblical standpoint,
yeah.
When we're speaking, you guys, we're speaking to people that are interested in following the Bible, that are interested in walking as a Christian is called to walk. You know, of course there's going to be people that maybe watch this video that have no interest in walking with the Lord, in walking in obedience. And so this video is not going to mean anything to you guys. You all watch this and be like, you all are being so judgmental. You guys are crazy. And that's fine. And we love you guys. But this video isn't really for you all. It's for those of you who are seeking, who are open, who are wanting to know what God's views on this are.
Notice how Paul has to correct Morgan that being gay is in fact wrong if you're looking at this from a biblical perspective. This is because unless you start with the basis that the Bible is true and prescribe the anti-LGBT interpretation, there is no rational basis for condemning homosexuality. And they, at some level, know this. You have to already be Christians, and conservative one at that, in order for this video to actually convince you to be anti-gay, because they have no other basis to stand on, as every other basis stands against their position. Anyways, they kind of just continue on this tangent of we're not judging any one sin above the other, so I'm going to skip ahead again.
Guys, I was scared to make this video. I don't really want to jump right into a topic that's so heavy, that's so commanding of backlash. Like, there's going to be, we just know there is, and it's scary. But if we can't step out and talk about these topics from a biblical standpoint, then why are we doing this? Why are we making videos in the first place?
There is always a lot of backlash against homophobic rhetoric for good reason, because it damages and destroys people's lives. And I know this not only from statistical analysis of LGBT people coming from accepting backgrounds versus those that came from non-accepting backgrounds, but unfortunately from my own personal experience with this kind of rhetoric.
To answer your first question, is homosexuality / LGBTQ+ a sin? Yes. The Bible says yes, it is. If you are actively living a gay homosexual lifestyle and saying that you're a Christian and saying that God is okay with your life, that's not true. That's just not a biblical standpoint. That's not what the Bible says. It's separating you from God.
Once again, I must point out that it is your interpretation of the Bible that condemns homosexuality. And being gay is not a lifestyle. It is a sexual orientation.
All right, next question is, what do you say when an LGBTQ+ person says, God made me this way? I have a pretty direct answer. I'm not sure if Paul would be.
Morgan has a direct answer?
I would ask a question in return to that question, and it is, does a porn addict come out born that way? Does a thief come out born a thief? Well,
I mean, we are born into sin.
The fall of man, Adam and Eve, because of their sin, we are now prone to sin as soon as we come out of the womb. God did not make it that way. Yeah. So, no, God did not make you gay. He did not make you an alcoholic.
Morgan, you are comparing apples with oranges. You are not an alcoholic until you've consumed far too much alcohol on a regular basis. You are not a thief until you have stolen something. These are entirely behavioral, unlike sexual orientation. Sexual orientation is the attraction you have to one or both sexes, not the sexual acts, the attraction. I was gay long before I had any sexual contact with another man, because I was attracted to other men. Furthermore, there is, in fact, clear scientific evidence that you are born gay. There have been numerous studies that have shown someone's genetic makeup can influence their sexual orientation, 3 of which I have linked in the description. There has also been a more recent study that has positively correlated the number of older brothers and chances of someone being gay due to an increase in antibodies in the mother that react to a protein called NLGN4Y, causing a change in the brain development during pregnancy. Therefore, your point, Morgan, could not be more asinine.
We have the choice, the authority to turn away from that sin that we're prone to, whether that be murdering, whether that be lust, whether that be
lying, cheating, stealing,
homosexuality, whatever it is. Like, God gave us the authority to turn away from that. But if we don't turn away from that, then it becomes our identity. So that's my answer to that question.
Once again, I must point out that all of the examples you used, with the exception of homosexuality, are all entirely behavioral, whereas homosexuality is the state of being. Furthermore, changing all of the behaviors mentioned have objectively positive effects on the individual's life. Whereas with homosexuality, it is not only impossible to change someone's sexual orientation, as every major psychological organization has condemned the practice, but it is actually harmful to the individuals who partake in it. So no, you cannot just turn away from homosexuality like you would turning away from stealing or cheating, as someone's sexual orientation is central to their identity and cannot be changed.
Question number 3, this is the big question of our decade. Should I go to my gay friend's wedding?
If you want to preserve that friendship, yes.
We actually were just having this conversation with another Christian, and their leaning was it would show love to that person. Even if you don't really agree with their lifestyle, it would show that you love the person to go to their wedding.
I must again correct Paul that it is not a lifestyle, but a sexual orientation. Not a choice, but a fundamental aspect of someone's core identity.
I think Morgan and I would disagree that that is the right move. I think that we would say, you know what, the loving thing is to draw your line and to not show support for what the Bible calls sin. Yeah, love the person, but I think it's going to do more for them in the long run to show, I love you, but I'm not going to support you in an ungodly lifestyle.
It will do more for them in the long run? Are you actually suggesting that refraining from attending a gay wedding will somehow help that person to turn straight? That's not how this fucking works, Paul. Regardless of what you do or how you do it, that person will always be gay. You cannot change that, and they cannot change that. In fact, attempting to do so can be psychologically harmful.
I personally don't know, how you could say, congratulations, I'm so happy for you, and I would be able to understand, oh, they're so happy for me, but they don't support me. It just doesn't make sense. It doesn't really work.
I think some people would come at it with the argument, yeah, but if you don't go to the wedding, then they're going to feel there's going to be no Christians in their life. They're going to feel rejected by all Christians.
Well, I have to say, if every Christian refuses to come to the wedding, then yes, they will have less reason to turn to your religion.
They'll know if you really care about them, if you genuinely love them, if you're not hateful towards them when you do interact. But if all of the Christians in their life are going to their weddings, are celebrating with them, then yeah, what message is that going to send? That it's okay. That we love and support you in the midst of it. We support who you are and the decisions you're making, when that's just not what we're called to do.
Yes, they will know if you truly love them, and whether or not you're going to the wedding is part of showing them that love. Also, Paul, not being hateful towards gay people when you interact with them doesn't make your homophobia any better. It only makes it more palatable, which actually probably makes it worse. Correction, it does make it worse.
An example for me in my life was just, I had a friend growing up in high school who he came out as gay, and he came to me and told me. I was one of the first people who found out, and I just told him, I love you, I have so much fun hanging out with you, you're one of my best friends in this school, but I cannot be the person you come to talk about your boyfriends or your relationships. I just can't be that person for you, but I will be here for you. I'm still here. I don't support it, and he totally respected that, and we had a friendship after that.
That was an absolutely terrible response. You basically told your friend that a core, unchangeable aspect of their identity was not only wrong and perverted, but was also completely off limits if he was still going to be friends with you. I honestly hope that the rest of his coming out experience was filled with people that fully accept him for who he was, because even though you said he was respectful about it, I know that what you said still hurt him. Quite frankly, Morgan, you are a terrible friend, as you literally said to him you don't accept him as a person, and as someone who understands what that feels like, that hurts.
So it sounds like in your situation, you guys still were able to have that friendship, but I would say, guys, don't be surprised if you do draw that line and say, hey, I just want you to know you're identifying now, as a homosexual. I can't support you in this. There is likely going to be some division.
Yeah.
And that stinks, it stinks when there is division in a friendship, but there are bigger consequences at stake than, losing a friendship.
Mm-hmm.
It's, there is hell in play here. And to be able to say, I accept you, I accept this lifestyle, I don't want anything to come between our friendship. You have that on one side, or, hey, I cannot support you in this, and I care too much about you to support you in this. I don't want to encourage this lifestyle that is going to result in separation from God right now and in all eternity.
I cannot stress enough, being gay is not a choice. You were born gay, you cannot change that, and there is nothing wrong with that. Furthermore, what you are doing here, Paul, is quite frankly despicable, as you are trying to use hell to scare LGBT people into not being gay or trans, which, might I remind you, is not possible, and can be damaging to the individual, all because your interpretation of your holy book says that their existence is wrong. Rhetoric like this is the reason that the suicide rate amongst the LGBT people are so high, because they are told that their very existence is an abomination to God, and that they need to torture themselves for the rest of their lives and pretend to be something they are not, in many cases causing them to enter into a straight marriage, which one study showed was disastrous as it had a 69% divorce rate. Anyways, after this they just kind of continue on this tangent, comparing homosexuality to murder and adultery and whatnot, and I thought I would spare all of you from more of their homophobic dribble. After that they start on their next question, but I think at this point we've gone far enough for now. So stay tuned for part 2. Anyways, if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.